All right, y'all boys, we back with another video. So today we are going to be doing a JP DPS tier list update. So if you aren't familiar with this, I'm going to put a disclaimer. This is a DPS tier list update. You're going to be seeing characters that obviously do other things, but we're talking about how much damage that they realistically do. So it's not going to be a regular tier list. So keep that in mind when we are going over the characters. We're talking about how much damage they output, not the other things that they're able to bring to the table. You know, obviously, if we have a character like, you know, Domain Gojo, and then let's say he's all the way at the bottom, and you're like, why is he all the way at the bottom? He's an amazing character. We're talking about strictly their damage, right? So the last time we did a tier list was on May's release, which was essentially early April. We're going to basically be continuing from there, and we're going to adjust the DPS tier list with, of course, the newest DPSs that came, and then obviously kind of shift and move around some of the characters. So we're going to obviously start off by mentioning the two newest DPSs since the last time that we did this tier list, which are going to be Takuma Ino and Honored Gojo. So first up, we have, of course, Takuma Ino. Now, he is a blue type attacker whose gimmick revolves around additional actions, which he can sustain with absolute zero downtime, making him very consistent high DPS dealer in the game. I've already done a video on him doing Curse Sweep. He's very powerful, I'd say. He doesn't feel as powerful just because he does a lot of damage, but it's over like more consistently rather than one big nuke. His biggest drawback is that you just constantly need to have that consistent damage support. Otherwise, his damage will be very underwhelming. For most other DPSs, you only need the buff for 3 to 4 turns for one-time big nuke. Takuma doesn't have a one-time big nuke. He has to be consistently being buffed and debuffing the enemy for many turns to keep his damage up, so you will struggle keeping your support's curse energy up. But regardless of that, he can still clear high tower floors such as 64 and 66 with the right setup. I'd like to say that he's probably going to be a high S tier, basically right here. That's basically going to be the spot that I put him in. Next up, we have the next DPS character, which obviously people are going to want to know about. This is going to be Honored Gojo. Now, let's be honest, the reason why you clicked on this video, literally, how good is he really? Well, let's just say that Sukuna isn't the only one on the top anymore. Yeah, so we're just going to have to change this out completely because it's not going to be just Sukuna anymore at the top. Now that we're at the SSS now, we are going to essentially move Honored Gojo to SSS. He deserves to be at the pinnacle of DPS, and he will reign there together with Sukuna. They literally by far do the most damage in the game very consistently. Now, you're probably asking who's better. They do different. They're obviously different typings, which is very important when you're kind of trying to, you know, assess a character's, you know, viability and how powerful they are. So there's no reason to kind of really compare. I would put Sukuna slightly higher just because of him being more universal DPS thanks to his bleed. On top of that, he's able to abuse Domain Gojo alongside him. Honored Gojo is an absolute beast and it can hit numbers that most SS tier DPS can't even hit at A5. And by A5, I mean Awakening 5 with like 5 dupes. We have seen him clear high tower floors with ease and outperforming any other DPS, and not just nuking, but even consistent DPS thanks to his skill 2. If there's anyone still doubting this because he takes too long, you do you, bro. Have fun beating tower with Hollow Purple Gojo or Muta. I'll stick to my goat who can literally clear through that shit, you know, like butter. Now, for more in-depth, you know, review over him and obviously showcases, I do have videos of him up, so you can go check him out. Let's adjust some of the older DPSs in the tier list, because now that we already got out the way the newer ones. Let's, you know, review some of the older characters because now they kind of, you know, changed and fluctuated as we got more content, and, you know, how much use we are getting out of them is obviously going to kind of change that a little bit. So obviously, like I said, this is going to be a DPS tier list, so it's not going to be the complete accuracy of what you would have in a regular tier list based on their actual viability. Now, in terms of damage, right, we're going to be moving JJK Zero Geto down to B. I'd say the first slot. Now, he has no reason to stay up here. Yes, he can nuke, but he will not be your DPS. Who even uses him as a DPS? Let's be for real. I love him, and he is one of the best supports, but we need to keep it as 100% as possible, like real as fuck. Surely the upcoming 1.5 Annie Geto will bring justice to my GOAT, but for now, this Geto is going to have to bump down all the way to B just because you don't necessarily use him for his damage, and it's nothing special to, you know, kind of praise. Next up, we're going to have another character that we have already kind of went over in the last DPS tier list that we did, and that's going to be Mei, since she was kind of like one of the highlights. So Mei, we're going to be moving down to S+. Mei has been struggling in the higher tower floors, especially with the ones with multiple enemies. She just can't keep up with characters like other characters who do better, which are like Yuta and Toji, especially Toji now since he's a standard and you can kind of get more dupes for him easily, so he has a lot more use and has a lot better stats overall and can do a lot more damage for you. So yeah, unfortunately she's not going to be cutting it as often just because Toji's now a standard character, so there's more accessibility to him. Next up we have Blue Maki. Blue Maki is going to move down to A. I don't own Blue Maki, but she's been on Fraud Watch since like day one. Only reason she was this high is because I let myself get convinced by Maki Glazers that she's good. She's been struggling in tower. She even struggles in the new sweep. Literally so bad. You're better off just using Chad Jogo, who's essentially free. So unfortunately, she's going to drop down to A. Next up, this is going to be... is it going to be a shocker? I don't know if it's going to be really a shocker to most people, but it might be. This is going to be kind of crazy for some people, and they're probably not going to be able to accept it. So the character that we're going to be talking about is Green Yuji, and people understand how good he is. It's just I don't think people understand how good he is, right? So now this is going to be very crazy to most people. Green Yuji has been absolutely destroying the high tower floors. He might not have the best nuking damage, but he will rain down the boss with Black Flash ults every few turns. Arguably the top 3, green DPSs in the game. In terms of clearing potential, if it's not something like Score Boss, he can literally clear every single green content in the game as your primary green DPS. So when I did make that video on the global side, mentioning who you should be picking up for your wish list, and I said Green Yuji, that's one of the reasons why. I'm going to move him in front of Hollow Purple Gojo. Yes, Hollow Purple Gojo is very powerful as being one of the best green DPS in the game. But keep in mind, he does leave after a set amount of turns, and in really high tower floors, you just can't really utilize Hollow Purple Gojo that much. So yeah, Green Yuji, who's going to be staying on the field very consistently and outputting those Black Flashes, is going to be very consistent. I feel like his damage is always really high up and really good. The Black Flashes help him do even more damage. I'd even say that, in my opinion, he's a little bit better than even Muta. So yeah, free-to-play character, by the way. Characters who's been here since the start of the game. He's on the standard banner. A lot of people should already have multiple dupes in him. In my opinion, he's just way better than Hollow Purple Gojo in clearing content. If you're trying to do a lot of big damage, stuff like that, or the fight isn't going to last that long, Hollow Purple Gojo will probably be better in that case. But yeah, like I mentioned, Green Yuji clears practically every single green content. Hollow Purple Gojo does not. He clears much more shorter content that you're not going to be in a fight for very long. So especially like the high tower floors, it's very difficult for Hollow Purple Gojo to compete. Next up, we have, of course, Toji. Now, Toji, I'm going to have to move him up a little bit, right? I do love these other characters, but Toji is showing his prowess, right now in the current content, which is the high tower floors. They kind of made me realize how good he is. I have both Toji and Yuta A1 on JP at least, and I personally thought Toji would infinitely perform better together with Red Yuji. Now that Toji's a standard character as well, he's also easy to do, so he's definitely by far the best Red DPS, I'd have to say. I'm going to have to move him in front of Green Yuji. He's just very consistent in outputting the damage. He's easily accessible now. There's not really much wrong with him. He's very simple, very straightforward, doesn't require any crazy setups. He has like-minded sisters to kind of help him get to his ultimate quicker than other characters. Yuta, he's very powerful, does big nukes, but once you do that big nuke, you're limited in not being able to gain ult anymore. On top of that, you kind of, it's like everything, ult charge restricted, all of that. Although Yuta's heals do come in clutch sometimes as well. But I feel like Toji's is very consistent in doing the damage, more so than Yuta. Now we have Blue Inumaki. Where is he? Where's my boy Blue Inumaki? So he was a little bit higher up, but the more times that I kind of just thought about it and looked at the other characters who are on this list, they definitely all do more damage than he does. I'm going to be using him or placing him in the last slot of S tier. His primary role is, of course, being a debuffer. He's great as a sub DPS or a second DPS if you don't have any other blue options. Like if you don't have Sukuna, if you don't have Blue Gojo, you should have Blue Gojo. And if you don't have Blue Jogo, you should have Blue Jogo. But yeah, if you don't have them, he's definitely a good second DPS option to use. But his damage is good. It's really good. It's strong. But that's not the main role that you're using him for either. I'd lowered him down a little bit. His damage doesn't compare crazy anything to than all the other characters who are in S+. So yeah, he's definitely gonna have to drop down into S. Next up, we are going to be talking about Jogo. Jogo is an absolute mad lad. He's fucking powerful as shit. He's free as fuck. It's like not hard to get him. Again, blue type has a very limited pool of good DPS units. Besides Sukuna, there's not really any close alternatives to him. Everyone else is underwhelming. Takamo Ino's good, but he's not that crazy. Aside from, the Chad, Suguna, Jogo's really the only other closest thing, and he's proved to be very powerful in high tower floors, and he can clear them, right? So he's a pretty good substitute if you don't have Suguna. Probably won't use Jogo if your Suguna is at least like A3, but if your Suguna is like stuck at A0, you're probably better off with an A5 Jogo, I'd have to say. But keep in mind that is obviously going to take some time, and you'd have to be playing for quite some time. My placement is definitely going to be somewhere right here above Muta, to be honest. Next up, we are going to have Green Megami. So Green Megami is going to be bumping down into S+ behind Yellow Nanami. I do feel like Yellow Nanami does have that, the fact that he has that advantageous effect. He kind of does output higher numbers. His main reason to be there is obviously to be damage, like he's a damage dealer. And, he does have things in his kit which obviously help increase the damage that the enemy is going to take as well. So he does have some utility, but I feel like you can use him in more cases than Green Megami. And then he has a very consistent damage output, where in Green Megami's case, you kind of have to rely on his follow-ups too to have that consistent damage output. So I feel like Green Megami, he is powerful, but I feel like he has to be a little bit behind Yellow Nanami. He just doesn't fit, at SS anymore. Even though his damage is really good, he just isn't seen at all in the higher floors. He can't deal with these 40 million and 20 million bosses, but he does help get that like extra little bit of damage. In the green team, he'll be kind of good, but it's just like, I feel like there's just better options in your green team with all the things and supports that we've been getting released on the green team. It's just, you don't really have the space for him, and there's just much better DPSs. So yeah, he's definitely going to have to be right behind Yellow Nanami. His damage is good, but it's not that crazy good to be an SS. Next up, we have Blue Gojo, right? He's going down to S. He's going down to S. I'd say probably ahead of Takuma Ino. He's still very strong. There are teams able to clear, floor 64 with him, but he's just going to continue to keep falling off and off over time. Maybe his SP buff will save him for now. I'm just going to keep him in S. It's just, the fact that he only has 7 turns, and like he has a 1000% multiplier on his somewhere around there, like 1000% modifier on his ult, and then you kind of use your skill 3 to kind of make it a little bit better, so it gets close to like what other characters have, where there's other characters who have 2000% modifiers. It's just like he's just kind of nearing close to breaking the average with those characters. So I do feel like he could be a lot better, but right now he just isn't. So either they inflate his stats, or they give him more turns before he leaves, or something of the sort, or increase the modifier in his ult to make him a lot better. But right now, I feel like he just isn't cutting it compared to the other characters in terms of DPS. The only thing you're really looking forward to into his damage output is just his ult, and his ult is kind of like, slowly falling off with its modifiers and all the crazy characters that we've been receiving that are getting like these crazy passive skills that give them even more damage. It's just like, yeah, like if you compare the Honored Gojo to Blue Gojo, you can see it night and day that every other Gojo has like these insane buffs to themselves, while this Gojo doesn't have any like big passive skills or anything that makes him any much stronger. It's literally just a skill 3 kind of carrying him. So yeah, we're gonna have him in S. Like I mentioned, he's probably gonna keep dropping as time goes on, unless his SP buff is insane. Next up, we're gonna have is going to be Red Inumaki. Where is he? Right here. We're putting him down in B tier. I'd say right behind the JJK Zero Ghetto. I don't even remember why I put his ass in S tier. Laugh my ass off. I'm not even gonna lie. He's literally not that good in terms of damage. So just stick to Red Yuji or Red Nobara for red DPS. Next up, we're gonna have the Green Nobara. Where is Green Nobara? Green Nobara, we're gonna put her to the 3rd slot of the A tier. Might have hated on her too much. She's all right. Probably a better DPS among the A tiers. Obviously she still needs a lot of setup to even have that good amount of damage, so it's just like I can't rank her any higher. I can't put her in S when a lot of these characters in S don't need as much setup as she does just to do good damage. It's just very unfortunate in the position or the state that she's in with how you have to output damage with her. Next up, we have Green Nanami. Green Nanami was pretty good, but I feel like he kind of got omega gapped by the fact that Green Yuji's there, and Green Yuji is more consistent, and there's just like not that much reason to use him. On top of that, his damage isn't anything crazy, and I feel like out of the other characters that are also here on the A, it's just like his damage isn't anything high. It's a little bit less than them, I would say. I feel like you get more use out of the other character's damage than he's just not there. He just gets gapped so hard by Green Yuji. Green Yuji is just so much better now. I'm gonna put him in front of Blue Toto, but like his damage is nothing. It's nothing special, to be honest. It really isn't. Next up, we have Red Maki. Where is Red Maki? So we're moving Red Maki down into B tier. I mean, obviously, she's not really that good. Where's the other Maki? I need to move the SR Maki down as well. Both of these Makis, all the Makis falling off. Seems to happen a lot. Nothing crazy. I just feel like maybe they're not really giving her enough use in her passives. Like if they were giving her passives like, you know, what Toji has been receiving or has received, I feel like she'd be a lot better. It's just the way that she functions just doesn't, it just isn't good for the type of content that we're tackling. So yeah, unfortunately they dropped down. Next up we have Saki. Saki's going to be in the last slot of, you know, S tier. Now Green Saki has been a secret gem in the high tower floors. Her current high durability and taunt not only helps your team in survivability, but since a lot of the high tower floor stages are long fights, she scales up to a very strong secondary DPS thanks to her passive, bringing in that extra damage which Green Yuji misses. Her and Green Yuji have been a monster duo, wrecking absolutely most of those green tower stages. So together, they're a force to be reckoned with. She definitely gets props in terms of her damage output. She definitely kind of bumped up a bit. She obviously still needs setup, and you have to do really difficult content for her to scale that high, even in the first place. That's the only reason why I'm not putting her any higher than an S+. Her damage is really strong. It's just the setup for it and everything to get that consistent damage isn't going to be an S+ or SS. All these characters that are in those, you know, those tiers, they kind of just have that damage almost within a couple turns very easily, no problem. Like it's an easy setup, doesn't require a lot of thinking. You don't have to do much. You just go in, you have that high damage output. She still needs to kind of have the setup, so she's an S. If she didn't have as much that setup, and obviously she already kind of like scaled that damage like almost immediately like the other characters in S+ or SS, I'd probably put her up there. But because of that, she's going to be an S. I think she's still very powerful in these high tower floors though. So yeah, we are kind of using a lot of the evaluation from the high tower floors because those floors have been extremely difficult, even for, you know, players who are veterans and have a lot of the characters. Now, this is going to be the finale essentially of my overall overview of this. There's probably going to be some stuff that could change up in A or B, but honestly, who the fuck cares? Realistically, a lot of these characters aren't going to be used for their DPS capabilities, so me adjusting them between the two isn't going to matter too much. So it looks good to me overall. And maybe I could move Blue Nanami and Miguel down to B because I feel like their damage really isn't that good, and they're probably, if I had to say, probably like a little bit less damage than Green Nanami, if anything. It's hard because Blue Miguel and Blue Nanami and Blue Maki have some value in floor 74, where the boss is like Omega Cancer and kind of reduces Jujutsu damage. So you gotta use Blue Taijutsu damage. Another thing is maybe I might move Blue Yuji up a little bit. There's a lot of things that I can't touch up on, but I feel like the overall consensus from like S and above, those are like the more important ones. And I feel like I'm kind of content with where they stand in terms of, you know, their DPS output. So yeah, again, I can't really tell you too much because I don't really use, you know, Blue Nanami or Blue Miguel that much just because they're not really that good. So that's about it. Honestly, I can't wait to see how the game goes from here on forward, considering now that we've already gotten all typings for Gojo characters. So now they've kind of reached the point where they can re-release more Gojo characters of typings we already have, which means there's obviously going to be more Gojos in the future. And obviously they're going to be ranked very good. They're going to be very difficult to kind of rank just because we do have a character, which is the main Gojo that exists. And there is a lot of other characters that still haven't yet to appear that are going to be appearing from Shibuya, which is going to be very important to, you know, take a look at. We might receive another Sukuna, you know, we might receive another Yuji, who's, I'd say we have a yellow, we have a blue, we have a green, and we have a red. So obviously there's going to be another Yuji, and we don't know what typing he's going to be next. There's a bunch of things to look at. You know, we have a Jogo, who I feel like he's probably going to have a banner. There's no way that they don't release a Jogo as a banner and they release him again as another Phantom Metal character. We'll see. I don't know how they kind of, you know, tend to tackle the cursed spirits in the game currently as it stands. We haven't received any cursed spirits as banner characters yet. So when we do, obviously that will kind of give us a, you know, variety of the characters in, you know, the summon pool. Anyways, this is basically going to be my overall thoughts on the characters in terms of how much damage they do currently in JP. Sukuna and Honored Gojo being absolute powerhouses. Honored Gojo's, if it wasn't for the fact that he was a Gojo character, he would probably be a little bit higher than Sukuna, I'd say, just because he consistently just drops that 2 mil every turn, right? And he's not even using Domain Gojo with him. And I've seen him cracking for like 47 million with ease. Imagine if he had Domain Gojo, if he was able to use that, it's like his damage would be even significantly higher. It's just like insane. And it's just like, I can't even say much more. But yeah, they're kind of like neck and neck. I'd say they're kind of very close in terms of their damage. But Sukuna still kind of gets an advantage because of those bleeds. And then everything in the SS, I probably wouldn't change for some time until the next tier list, until we get some more DPSs where we might kind of shift around who should be an SS, and that's going to be the same for S plus and S. A's and B's and C's more so. I don't think we're going to move any of those characters up or anything like that, unless they get an SP buff, and we'll kind of be moving a lot of other characters that are in like S and S plus down, depending on what characters we do receive in the near future. So stay tuned. Maybe in a couple months from now, we'll do another DPS tier list. But for now, as it stands, this is where I believe every DPS stands in the game currently, and I'm content with it. So let me know what you guys think. If you think there's like some characters that you don't agree with in certain spots, but I feel like I've pretty much used every single character here extensively, aside from like maybe Blue Nanami and Blue Miguel. And I kind of feel like they all kind of stand at a good spot here. I wouldn't move them anywhere else, to be honest. Oh, and Blue Maki too. Those are kind of like the 3 characters that I don't really use too much. But yeah, anyways, I appreciate y'all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.